This was the original elementary school for the town, and a developer came in and wanted to turn this building into condominiums. And people in the village went nuts, and they raised money, and they bought the building from the town. But when they bought the building, they had to agree that it had to house a school. Okay, so this building was in Darby Anderson's family for a long time, and it was the bank, but he had his apartment upstairs and he put the wooden structure on to add to it so he could have a larger apartment. And so it came up for sale like literally overnight, so we were not prepared to do this. So we took a huge leap of faith to buy this space. And so the total was about $3.5 million to buy and renovate this space. But before we made the decision to buy it, what we ended up doing was a campus master plan with an architect to identify what are the core areas that we could provide a better experience to our students, and we identified art and music as two core areas of being able to improve the program. And so that's what we did with this building. That's why we built what we built in the space. We've got kids from all over, all different types of kids, different types of family, different types of beliefs, different types of income, everything. Real diversity. So we have people, come in here. The last thing we want to do is transmit some kind of feeling like you can't trust in this environment, because every single one of our kids who walks through the door has had their trust broken in school before they get to us. And so we have no locks, right? And guess how much theft we have at the school? 0. Hey, Miss Forey. Trust is creating an environment where there's safety. Hello, Molly. Hello, Rye. Hello, Corey. Hey, Faith.
And the kids can walk in and out of the classroom.
Walk in and out of the classroom anytime they want, right? And you'll see that it's a pretty quiet hallway, right? I mean, again, giving kids agency. If they want to sit on the floor, guess what? They can sit on the floor. If they need a moment to come out, if they have to use their assistive technology, because that's their access into the material to dictate something, if they need to see their advisor, if they need, we let the kids go. And guess what? When you give them that freedom of choice, they choose to learn. They choose to learn. When you force kids and say, this is the power dynamic, let's take the trust out of there. When you take those things out of the picture and you give kids freedom of choice, it totally changes the dynamic of, their ability to have ownership and agency around that. And again, what do they choose to do? Most of the time they choose to learn. They're smart kids, so let's empower them with, understanding, what are the executive functions, where are their strengths. Every single person in the building is trained, they have this language, they know how to do this. And so again, it provides our kids agency, not just in school, but in life. Because all of these things that we know we need kids to understand, all kids, not just kids with learning and attention issues, all kids, it impacts their social life, it impacts their, all the aspects of their personal life, their professional life. It really is very helpful in giving them a long-term success rather than just having them memorize a workbook.
You make good humans.
Yes, it's about humanity. Yeah, you're right. It's a humanity issue, Harvey. You're absolutely right.
It is.
By empowering educators with students at that young age, can we change the conversation for those kids? Can we help increase outcomes, not just for the kids who are at risk, because they have dyslexia or a reading disability, but for all the kids, because every single student benefits from science-based, evidence-based instruction in reading. And so if we can train and equip those teachers who are working with kids in the early years, we can expect to have better outcomes for them over the long term for all kids. It's a disability in teaching and understanding what's going on with the kids. So we're providing them with the different types of instructional tools, both to teach kids and to reinforce concepts, but then also to give kids advocacy and independence with access to the printed word. How do we measure success? What are we trying to achieve when we educate kids? And what is the role and responsibility of everybody in that process? From birth, all the way through. What's the responsibility of educators? What are we trying to put in front of our kids? And I will tell you, in this country, we do a huge disservice when we say that the solution to this or the approach to this or the priorities are more, faster, earlier. We are going to enhance it by ramping up the speed of the conveyor belts, putting more objects on the conveyor belt, increasing the amount of responsibility the kids have to take for ownership of operating all of these things, and yet we haven't given them any foundational tools to be successful as humans. And we know the things that make kids successful, and socialization is one of them, and yet we take away all the opportunities to socialize. We take away recess, we take away the school plays at an early age, all those kinds of things. One of the big obstacles we face is that we sometimes fail to realize that even within the same city, each community has different needs. How can we do a better job being active listeners in those communities to understand what do those families need? What do those parents need? What kind of support do they need to be able to provide so that the schools can provide the right type of education for their child? Part of our mission and vision and values is that we believe it is incumbent upon us to provide access to all teachers in the best research and evidence-based instructional strategies for kids with learning and attention issues. All the science, again and again and again, validates that the approaches we use for kids with dyslexia, for kids with learning and attention issues, that benefits all kids. So if we can go into communities where there are a variety of kids who are struggling for a variety of reasons, we can empower all of those kids. And if we can start to shift, start to have impact with those communities, we know we will create generational change.
And you're in heaven.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Wow.